Welcome to the Hangar Z podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts. In this three-part series, we sit down and talk with Deb Dickerson. Deb's a decorated former LAPD officer, tactical flight officer, and pilot. Deb Dickerson thrives on a life filled with challenge and passion. Born and raised in the tight-knit community of Guttenberg, Iowa, with a population of 1,500 people, Deb developed a competitive spirit through sports like softball, basketball, and track. A pivotal moment came in 1984 during a vacation to Los Angeles for the Olympic trials. Setting eyes on the city and experiencing her first airplane flight, Deb fell in love with flying. With unwavering determination, she traded her Midwestern roots for the California sunshine, starting a career in retail while harboring dreams of becoming a pilot. Driven by a desire for service, Deb's path took her to law enforcement. She joined the ranks of the LAPD in the late 1980s, where she became a respected officer. Her diverse career encompassed roles in Hollywood Patrol, Vice, and the MTA Task Force. She even had an opportunity to ghostwrite for the mayor and chief of police. A natural leader, Deb broke barriers as the first female chief tactical flight officer at LAPD Air Support. For 8 years, Deb served as a tactical flight officer. She was then the chief tactical flight officer for 2 years before being selected as a pilot. Witnessing the aftermath of 9/11 firsthand, Deb actively participated in peer counseling efforts. Retirement in 2017 proved short-lived. Missing the thrill of flight, Deb returned to aviation in the Los Angeles basin as a news helicopter pilot. Thank you to our sponsors, Technisonic, MD Helicopters, and CNC Technologies. Cheers.
Welcome to the Hangar Z podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts. The Hangar Z podcast is the first and only podcast dedicated to promoting and exploring the personnel and equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation. Join your host, John Gray, Jeff Ratkovich, and Jack Shanley.
Still southbound, skidding to a stop. Stand by here. Looks like they're getting ready to bail. Heads up, guys, bailing. Okay, the guy, he's running through the house, jumping the fence, threw the shotgun, threw something out. Grabbing the shotgun. Don't go over that fence. Don't go over that fence. Grab the shotgun again. He is armed. Stay there. Hold your position.
4 on the stop. You're in custody.
Good advising code 4 on the stop.
Welcome to the Hangar Z podcast. I'm your host, Jack Shanley. With me today is the creator of the Hangar Z podcast, John Gray. How are you, John?
Good, sir. Good to see you.
Good to see you. And we're very happy to see our guest today. We've been looking forward to this conversation for a while. Deb Dickerson's with us today, former law enforcement pilot to ENG, LE to ENG, flying for Helinet now. And we have a lot to talk to Deb about with that transition and the things that the law enforcement side help prepare her for that ENG job. So we're looking forward to this. But to start, we have to go to John for his traditions, and which are great traditions. So hit it.
Let me echo what Jack said real quick, Deb. Really happy to have you on. We have honestly been talking about having you on for quite a while. I think your name came up before Manny's. Don't tell him we said that.
Yeah, don't tell him.
But it's an honor to have you here, and I'm happy to have Jack hosting. It's fun to listen to you host and to do your work. But with the Hangar Z, we have some traditions, and one of the traditions is Drink of the Day. This recording happens to take place on a Monday morning at 10 a.m. here in Southern California. Drinks of the day are going to be much different today than they'd normally be. Today is Black Rifle Coffee Day for me. I don't want to say I have a case of the Mondays, because I don't have a case of the Mondays, but I'm moving slow, so I've got a lot of caffeine pumping through my body right about now. Deb, what's your go-to drink for this morning?
Oh, anybody who knows me knows I wake up to sugar-free Red Bull.
Really? Okay. Or do you like coffee at all?
I do not drink coffee. I don't drink coffee,
Okay.
don't eat chocolate. I'm a very strange individual, I guess. So,
I don't drink coffee either, Deb.
well, you are strange. We know that.
I know. We're strange together in that way. Cool.
Yeah, I imagine, working nights is easy to drink Red Bull. But for me, I know some of my friends wake up and they'll have a soda in the morning, for the caffeine or the Red Bull. And I'm so used to drinking coffee, the idea of something cold in the morning is completely foreign to me. Yeah. But I get you moving. I guess it gives you wings, right?
It does.
Jack, how about you?
I'm sticking with the Liquid Death iced tea. And
All right.
I like this severed lime. It's good. It's not real powerful iced tea, and it's really good. I've tried a couple flavors, but I like that one. So I'll be driving when we finish here. I'll be driving over the Cascades, 132 miles. So there's iced tea this morning.
Yeah, you've become the spokesman for Liquid Death. They're going to be very happy to
Hey, I'm here. You know where to find me, folks.
Do you like Monster or any of the other caffeine drinks, Deb?
No. I'm
No,
all about
just-
sugar-free Red Bull. That's me. That's
Wow.
what I do.
Yeah.
In the little cans, good for me for the day. Gets me through
Yeah.
it.
And we have a case of the sugar-free Red Bull in our garage as well. So when I need a Red Bull for whatever the reason, it is the sugar-free, the little small can too. So I'm right there with you.
Whenever anybody needs a favor from me, that's what they do. They say, can you do this? And we'll give you a case of sugar-free Red Bull. I'm like, okay, sold. Let's go.
Done.
So,
If this were 5:00 on a Friday evening, what would the drink of the day be?
for me, and definitely a Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Okay. Like it. Jack?
Probably a liquid death. I'm going for the sponsorship.
I
John.
see that.
Going for it. I'll just sit here like this.
Yeah,
Delicious.
I'm going to guess, Jack, if it was Friday afternoon at 5, you'd have some sort of IPA in your hand.
Not necessarily an IPA, but one of the craft beers from Bend. We've got some of those in our fridge, a variety.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you tend to stick to that for the most part, or do you wander around the beverage menu?
I wander around a lot. I don't.
Yeah.
I do. Believe it or not, I like a lot of the ciders and the sours. Some of those are really good.
Yeah.
And even they make a lot of the breweries make soda and kombucha. They'll have it on draft as well on tap, and those are really good. So I'm all over the place.
I tried
Kombucha.
kombucha once. That'll be the last time.
Really?
Yeah, did not
You gotta
like
get
it.
you gotta get the right flavor. There's a gazillion flavors.
Yeah.
Some of them I don't care for either.
You know, Jack, you moved to Oregon. You start talking about organic foods and kombucha. I'm starting to worry about you.
I'm
I
very
worry about
concerned.
myself every day. I know. I know.
Very Oregonian of you.
It
Well,
is.
that's our drink of the day. And as always, we got to move into the hot seat. So I know we have some interesting hot seat questions for you, Deb.
Yeah.
If you aren't familiar with the hot seat, it's just a opportunity for us to break the ice with some super random questions. So Jack, I'll hand it over to you to start.
Oh wow, you're gonna let me start today, John.
Yeah.
Oh,
All
gosh.
right. Deb, let's go to music, shall we?
Oh, my God. A culture club came on
Knows where
last
this is
night,
going.
and Boy George was there, and Maddie just goes, "Look!" And I was like, "Oh my God, please don't!"
So, choice. You have to choose here:
Oh my gosh!
Johnny Cash or George Michael.
Oh, Johnny Cash!
Oh, thank God.
Oh my God!
Phew.
You know my
Wow,
ringtone
we
is
got
Ring of
that out of the
Fire.
way.
The ringtone of my phone is the Ring of Fire.
Deb was a big Johnny Cash fan.
I feel like, Jack, you need to paint the picture for folks that may not be familiar with what we're doing and the picture we're painting.
Well, they should be familiar because they should be listening every week, John. And had they done that, they would have listened to Manny Dickerson a while back. And Manny led us down a path that we were stunned by when he talked about 80s music. And Boy George was something that he would sing to and the kids would laugh. And I heard that. And I remember rewinding it to make sure I heard him say that. I immediately wrote him a note and said, "Are you kidding me, Boy George, Manny? You just got knocked down 10." The next thing you know, Deb sends me a picture of Manny sitting in their living room, and there's MTV 80s on the screen, and there's Boy George. I went, "Oh my gosh, this is priceless." So we had to ask Deb
Oh my gosh!
to
Yeah.
redeem the family name.
Oh,
Johnny Cash or George Michael. I knew what she would say.
you know who the leader of this household is.
I do.
I will say, when Jack sent me that photo, I was 100% convinced that somebody from the hangar had taken that picture and superimposed the photo on there. The fact that you actually did that and captured it and sent it to Jack was absolutely amazing.
It was great.
Well done.
I have my moments of geniusness.
It was genius.
It was.
I have another music question
Oh
for
gosh!
you.
Okay.
I know the answer to this. I learned this, and I want you to tell us so. First concert you ever attended?
How do you know the answer to this?
I just know. I know everything. Deb.
Oh, Rush.
Rush.
Oh, that's
Rush
cool.
was the first
That is
concert I
so-
ever attended. I'm from Iowa. My boyfriend at the time was a drummer in a rock and roll band, and everything I did was heavy metal,
Wow.
80s
That
rock,
is cool.
everything. That's what we did. Rush was phenomenal.
Yes. Excellent.
You
When I-
definitely redeemed the family name as far as the musical genre goes.
Oh my God. My
Oh, yeah.
14-year-old son, huge AC/DC fan.
Nice.
So
Hey, my grandson's favorite song is Thunderstruck.
Isn't that every kid's favorite?
Isn't it great?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a lot of it's in a lot of animated stuff. Planes, the plane, cars and planes from Pixar or Disney. It's in that. But Colton loves Thunderstruck. He sits there and he sings and he even does the voice. He changes his voice. It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
Oh no, you put on a heavy rock. If you put on 80s rock in my car or anything, Nathan knows all the words to all of them.
That is
so
can't
awesome.
do math. Can't do math for crap, but knows all the words to AC/DC. So there you go.
Thumbs up for Nathan. I love it. The Thunderstruck, I joke about. I say I'm so proud. My 4-year-old grandson loves AC/DC Thunderstruck. I said I'm so proud. His favorite song is a song about hanging out with strippers in Texas. I mean, which it is. But anyway, John, first concert.
Yeah. So growing up in the mountains in Southern California, there's a ski resort that's not too far from where I live, and they would host summertime concerts. Obviously, there's no snow, and the resort shut down. So the Beach Boys played there, and that was the first concert I went to with my parents. My dad is a big Beach Boys fan at the time. And he still is. But yep, caught them, and that was a lot of fun. I was probably 10 years old when they played. Yeah, that was awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, both of you have great answers there. I mean, for both of you, it's all downhill from there. You know, really. You see Rush and Beach Boys. You know, me on the other hand, I didn't go that route for concerts. So
wait,
let's hear about yours.
Yeah, I'm waiting.
Okay. Get ready, Manny. You can go to your Google because you're not going to know even who it is.
Yeah, maybe you don't want to admit. Maybe we should move on.
I know we should move on, but it ain't Boy George. I'll tell you that.
Thank you to our sponsor, Technisonic Communications. Technisonic Communications is a proud provider of the critical airborne communications equipment utilized every day on every mission. Law enforcement, EMS, forestry, federal and military operators all trust their communications to Technisonic. Visit TIL.ca to learn how Technisonic can support your mission communications.
But my parents took me, and with my sisters, the Carpenters.
Everybody knows who the Carpenters are.
See that? Most people are going to sitting there on their phones. They're going to go, "Oh my gosh, who the heck is Jack talking about?" The Carpenters.
Yeah, your phone's going to go off like crazy.
I know. That was with my parents. First one that I went alone to may have been even worse in some ways. It was Sweet and the Bay City Rollers.
Oh,
I was at Kutztown University in the gym. Yeah, you'd have to look that up too. That's how old I am.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, good. It's probably best that you've never heard of either of them. But actually, you have heard one of the Bay City Rollers songs.
Sing it for us,
I'm
Jack.
just going to leave that out there. What's that?
Just sing it a little bit.
Oh,
for
no.
us.
No. SATURDAY. Night. Okay. That's it.
I do know that song.
See that? So maybe I redeemed myself a little bit from the Carpenters.
Okay, wait. I'm going to tell you this only because you just did that.
Okay.
I am horrible at names of song or who sings songs. I know the songs. You ask me who sings it, I'll be like, I don't know. So when Manny and I first started dating, he would always do that. Oh, who sings a song? Who sings a song?
Yeah.
And one day I just started laughing hysterically. And I'm crying because I'm laughing so hard. And he's like, will you please just let me in on what is so funny? I said, because all I want to say is Lionel Richie, and I know it's not. He's like, how could you even remotely think this was Lionel Richie? I don't remember who it was, mind you. But after that, every time he'd say, who's this? I go, Lionel Richie. Lionel Richie.
That's perfect.
So everybody sing. Every song is sung by Lionel Richie in my mind now. So
I've got a buddy at the academy, Brandon Herring. He's the evac guy, and Brandon, when we go out to lunch and stuff, he'll say it loud so that people around us can hear it. Where something is playing, it's usually classic rock in a place that we're having lunch or dinner or something, and he'll intentionally say, "Oh, I love this song. This is the best Who song ever." And it's clearly Rolling Stones, or it's Rolling Stones, and he'll say, Led Zeppelin. Oh my God, they are so good. Listen to this. This is my favorite Led Zeppelin song. And people, you should see the people just look at us. I mean, they just look and go, "Oh my gosh, these guys are really stupid. You know, no, he just does it on purpose. It's hilarious.
That's
Lionel
funny.
Richie. I'll do that from now on. I'll just say, that's not Led Zeppelin. That's Lionel Richie.
Yeah. Do you have a question number 3, Jack?
No.
No.
Those are my 2.
Okay, well, I just have one to throw in there.
Oh, gosh.
I like the would you rather questions right now.
Yeah.
So this one's tough. I thought about this and I still don't have an answer. I've thought about it for a while.
Ooh.
So would you rather always feel hungry or always feel tired?
Wow.
Well, I do always feel tired, so I'd probably say I'm probably going to go with I'd rather always feel hungry because, this always being tired thing is for the birds.
Yeah. Yeah, I think every single person in public safety can relate to that feeling of being tired.
No, I've never been as tired as when I had my kids. You know, I've got the 3 kids. I was 44 when I had my daughter, 45 when I had my twins. And it's like, this is not an old person's game. You know,
No.
That's why people have kids in their 20s
active.
and 30s. That's what I know.
Yeah, they are active too, going in 3 different directions. I don't know how you do it.
Neither do I.
You're juggling.
Wait, I'll tell you.
Looking for a Red Bull sponsorship here.
Yep, we're getting sponsorships
Dude,
today.
how could they not sponsor me? I mean, really.
Exactly.
Jack, would you rather feel tired or hungry?
I'd rather feel tired, and I clearly, and you can ask Tracy. You know, I get hangry, so my life would be short lived if I was complaining about being hungry all the time. I would be hangry and grumpier than usual, and so I'd rather feel tired.
Yeah, hangry is definitely a thing. It's funny how you can solve that pretty quick with a Snickers bar. That's why I love those commercials, the Snickers commercials, and they throw a Snickers bar at the guy, and he transforms from the monster to because you definitely got a case of the hangries.
Now we're going for the Snickers sponsorship too. This is
Hangar
great.
Z is going to be making it.
Welcome to Vertical Helicast, sponsored by Red Bull, Liquid Death, and Snickers.
Yeah, the feeling of being tired, I always hated. You know, you work the graveyard hours, and during the day when you wake up, you just feel nauseous because you're so tired. That's been the best part about retirement for me is having a consistent sleep schedule, you know, and being able to kind of predict where my day is going to start and end. So that's been nice. So that's it. Wasn't too difficult.
Oh, that was good.
That was a fun little hot seat question session.
Deb redeemed the Dickerson name, which is good. Johnny Cash. I like it.
I've made it through the first 3 questions. I'm good.
You're good.
I feel like Manny is hiding somewhere, getting ready to ambush you in some way.
Most likely.
Luckily, he's at work.
That's good. All right. Well, let's kick into gear here. And let's start in Iowa.
Oh,
you grew up in a small town in Iowa. Tell us about that, where it was and what that was like and what you were doing in this small town in Iowa.
Well, I grew up in Guttenberg, Iowa, very small town along the Mississippi River. Situated so that you go over one bridge, you're in Wisconsin, you go over another bridge, you're in Illinois. So that kind of gives you a little bit, if you know anything about geography, that will help you. My hometown's about 1,700 people, give or take. My parents grew up there. They lived there their entire lives. My dad grew up, and both my parents grew up on farms. We did not. I have an older sister and an older brother. My brother still lives in Iowa. My sister lives in Wisconsin, and my mom is still in Iowa. So growing up in Iowa is the greatest thing ever. And I'm going to tell you that right now. People think I'm crazy when I say that. And I used to say, if I wanted to, I would send my kids and have my mom raise them, because there is nothing better than growing up in Iowa. The way that we grew up was amazing. You know, my mom would open up the door, send us out in the morning after breakfast. She'd ring a dinner bell because, you know, they have breakfast, dinner, and supper there. Figure that out. Don't know how that works. You know, do you have a dinner break at noon or do you have a lunch break? Okay, you have lunch, so it has to be lunchtime. But she'd ring a bell, we'd come back, we'd have lunch, back out we go till she rang it again for supper. That is how it was. She never knew where we were, but she knew it was okay to do that. Yeah. So growing up like that, you grow up with like just such a sense of freedom, you know? Mm-hmm. And I'm not like that with my kids, trust me.
Oh, you can't be.
We're got a whole new group of
Number
rules
one,
here now.
You're not in Iowa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Keep reminding me
Yeah.
of that. My son always says, I want to move to Iowa. I want to move to Iowa. And I always go, I
Wow.
know that, dude, but you've never been there in the winter. Right now they have 22 inches of snow. It's 16 degrees.
Mhm.
My son has no concept of that kind of nonsense. But I remember growing up and we'd go out in our little snowsuits. We lived on a hill. We would sled and toboggan down the hill all day long. That's what we would do. We'd come home soaking wet. Didn't matter. It'd be 10 below with a wind chill. We didn't care because we were kids. So things like that, the Four Seasons, all of that, I miss all of that tremendously.
Yeah.
But it was a phenomenal place to grow up.
1700. I thought I grew up in a small town of 5,000. 1700. That is a small town. Everybody knows everybody. Look at
My mom knew my shenanigans before I woke up the next day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I can't even disclose some of them because my kids are going to listen to this and I cannot let them know what I did. But yeah, there was one. And my mom, I got up in the morning. She goes, so how was the PlayStation last night? I was like, oh, for the love of God. I'm like, how do you even know that? It's 8:00 in the morning. It happened at 10:30 at night. How do you know this?
That's
I
great.
played sports all through high school. What else do you do when you live in small town? Rural America. So I played basketball, softball, ran track, golfed, bowled, you name it. My parents, and I remember my mom and dad wanting us to learn to golf. And I was like, why do I want to do this? I was 10. And now I love it, because I still have those skills. I still golf. I'm horrible at it. The best parts of golf are smoking cigars and drinking and driving the cart around. So,
I agree with you there.
Mandy's an amazing golfer.
Yeah.
I'm just a fun golfer. I like to just have fun. But so those kind of things are instilled in you back there, and your work ethic is amazing. I started working when I was 15 and still did sports, but everything in my hometown was 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
Mom, can you take me here? Sure. Can you pick me up? Sure, I'll be there in 5 minutes. So we learned to swim. I learned to swim in a pond, and I have no idea what kind of critters are actually in there. And back then I didn't care. Now I would care. So, but, you grow. I learned to ice skate there on the pond, and the way that they would figure out if the ice was frozen hard enough, they'd take like cinder blocks and stack them. And okay, well, this is 150 pounds of cinder block, and somebody was stupid enough to like drag it out in the middle of the pond, and if it didn't go in, it was good. Let's go. So,
that is great.
It was
Scientific methodology.
Driving cars out onto the Mississippi River to go ice fishing. Crazy.
That is great. I can relate to that. The small town stuff. I mean, the freedom. I love that you said the freedom that you had. That was very important. I mean, you didn't realize how much you had until now that we have kids. I get that now. But man, we had freedom too. It was just be home by this time. Okay.
Oh yeah. It was always a free.
You didn't have to worry about so much. Well, now that we got that, I mean, Los Angeles is a far cry from Iowa and a small town in Iowa, but you made that move. Tell us about that move.
Thank you to our sponsors, MD Helicopters. MD Helicopters is a leading light helicopter manufacturer for civil and military operators worldwide. We build safe, agile, hard-working light helicopters that consistently deliver reliable performance. As a result, our operators enjoy superior confidence, backed by durability that enables more uptime.
Oh, goodness. Well, I went to college back in Iowa too. I have a degree in fashion merchandising. I use it tremendously, now, especially on the police department. I could find a fashion felony anywhere. But at the time, I had a boyfriend who was doing security and came out, and he was going to do security for the Olympic trials. So I said, well, I'll come out and visit. First time on an airplane. I had $100 in a suitcase with me. My grandmother helped me buy my ticket to go to Iowa or to California, and I never went back.
Wow.
It was like, oh my God, I love it here. I mean, retail jobs were a dime a dozen. I could work anywhere in retail. The weather, you couldn't beat it. So why even go back? There was nothing other than my family really to go back for. So I was like, okay, I'm staying. And I just told my mom, okay, send my things. I'm not coming back.
Wow.
Where did you
That's
first
crazy.
live? What part of LA were you first living at when you moved
I
there?
lived in Upland. So out in the Inland
In
Empire.
Upland. Oh,
Mhm.
Yeah, right by
do
Ontario.
you remember the feeling, Deb? I mean, I'm just speaking from me, small town to LA overnight, just like you. Do you remember that feeling of the enormity of it all, but the adventure of that enormity, where it was like no other feeling I've had before or since, of going small town, one of the biggest cities on earth, and just going, wow. And this is before you could Google and before you could have a map on your phone. I mean, you had to really study and get a map out and know where you were going. I mean, it was wild, especially from small town. Do you remember that feeling?
I do. I remember flying in and I came in at night and just going, holy crud, what are all these lights? And I actually flew into Ontario. And that was back when Ontario wasn't as big as it was. And, you would you would walk out to the gate underneath like a little awning thing. And then you would walk out there to their little stairs. That's when I flew out there.
Yeah.
And this was, I don't know if I mentioned, but it was during the Olympic trials is when I came out. So it was like massive. I lived in a friend's garage for a long time. I commuted to Orange County for my job for a long time. So I learned the freeway systems. One thing you probably don't know about me is I have no sense of direction.
Oh, stop.
Zero. On the ground, zero sense of direction.
On the ground?
On the ground.
Okay.
In the air,
I've seen it on the air.
Oh, no. In the ground, you can spin me in circles and I'll be like eastbound, westbound, whatever. It's a TFO. You have to be able to. On the ground, zero sense of direction. Go figure that one out.
That's bizarre to me.
Yep.
I did not know that. And that is bizarre to me because
I always knew how to get to work.
we will talk about this later.
Oh, yeah.
This is one of the best tactical flight officers that we ever had
Oh, wow.
sitting with us today, John. And the fact that you just said that, I was like, hold it. I've seen you spin on a dime and know, being able to broadcast foot pursuits and stuff. That's really interesting.
Unfortunately, my daughter has no sense of direction either. And I'm teaching her to drive right now. And I'm like, oh, crap, why did you have to inherit this from me? Why can't it be something else? Why can't anything? Your lack of sense of direction. But anyway, I know how to get to, when I'm going westbound, I always go, I'm going to the water. So I have to go west. It's like,
yeah.
Okay, that's how crazy that was when I first moved here. But it was massive. It was exciting. It was, I'd go to Hollywood and go to the Walk of Fame and think, oh my God, this is awesome. This is amazing. Then I became a police officer and worked Hollywood and it was like,
yes.
Oh yeah, this is amazing.
What was I doing?
It's amazing.
Yes. I look back at hotels that I stayed in while I was testing with LAPD, and I wouldn't go there, ever again in some of the places. But they seemed, this seems nice, and you had no idea where you were.
Oh,
or
yeah.
you're in Rampart.
No, I've
or you're
been to the
in,
projects looking for an apartment
Chinatown.
before.
And, it was like,
When I
Scary
tested with
stuff.
San Diego PD, we stayed in a Motel 6 by the arena, which is off Rosecrans. I would not, in my wildest dreams, go back there and stay in that same place today.
Exactly.
I had no idea what you're talking about. It's funny you bring that up, but completely ignorant and I guess blissfully ignorant back then.
Ignorance is bliss is absolutely accurate. Completely ignorant back then. And then with this lack of directional skill on the ground that you say you have, Deb,
Right. It's true.
Your next job after retail was? Limo driver?
It was. I have a great friend. He is phenomenal. He is still my friend to this day. So you go figure how many years that is. Gosh, it's got to be like almost 40 years. That I met just through a mutual friend. And he owned a limo company and now he owns a rental business out of Eagle Rock out here in California. So I worked retail. I was working for Wilson Suede and Leather. I traveled all over the country for them. I'd be on a plane on a Monday, on a Tuesday night, and on a Thursday, flying somewhere. That's the reason I fell in love with flying, by the way. So Wilson's decided they were moving, they bought Berman's Leather out of Minneapolis. And they're like, we're moving everything to Minneapolis. We will move you, give you your position, everything, or we'll give you a 6-month severance. I said, I'm not moving back. I said, I will not move back to Midwest. I'm sorry. Give me 6 months severance. So I've got 6 months severance to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. And my buddy Michael goes, hey, come and drive limo for me. I'm like, oh, sounds good. Sounds fun to me. So yeah, I drove limo for a while. He also had hearses. I drove the hearse.
Why?
That is the weirdest feeling in the world. I don't know how people do it. I really don't. I had a guy, a driver the other day, take me to the airport. And he used to work at one of the local funeral homes here, but now he drives. I go, that is so bizarre. He goes, well, the only difference is one doesn't talk and the other one does. But like,
oh
point,
my
I guess.
goodness.
But, yeah, so yeah, I drove limo for a while, and it was just more for fun. I drove after Air 3's crash, the Fire 3. After their crash, I drove the family.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Michael donated the limo. I drove it.
Can you talk about that? I'm not familiar with that incident.
This is the one in north up in off of Los Feliz, correct?
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's a bad one.
Yeah.
That's a transport in a 412 where they lose the tail rotor. I mean, the tail rotor and gearbox, correct me if I'm wrong here, departed the aircraft. They found it later up near the Hollywood sign up on the hills there. And they went down into a residential area, mm-hmm. and it killed two or three. One survived.
One survived.
One survivor. Everyone else was killed, including the patient. So it was a terrible crash up off of Los Feliz in near the Griffith Park area, but right inside of a residential area. That was a bad crash.
It was. That was the last time I drove limo. So.
All crashes are bad. All loss of life is terrible. That one stung. The fire department struggled with that one. That was a terrible accident.
It was.
I understand why you don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. I promised you I wouldn't cry, so here we are.
No, I know. So let's move on then and talk about the next step. Something clicked while you were driving limo to take you to apply to a different type of career. What happened?
Thank you to our sponsor, CNC Technologies. CNC Technologies, serving law enforcement, government, and military markets with tailored mission solutions, system training, and live 24/7 support with CNC.live platform. Explore more at cnctechnologies.com.
A friend of mine from when I worked at Wilson's, she had some friends that were police officers for LAPD. I had another friend who had worked there, and he went to Pasadena PD, and they were all like, you should be a police officer. You have the right mentality. I grew up shooting guns, which apparently, you have to be able to do, of course, to be a police officer. So they're like, you would be phenomenal at it. You're a good leader. You've got all of those things that you need to be a good police officer. So I said, no, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I applied with Pasadena, applied with LA. Pasadena hired me first. So I went to Pasadena. I think I was there 5 days, maybe 7. Pasadena's academy is run by the sheriff. You go to the sheriff's academy. And Pasadena sets you up on day 1. They're like, okay, all of you guys meet in the parking lot at 7:00. And we're all from different agencies usually, at the sheriff's. But okay, the academy starts at like 6:30. They're like, okay, be in the parking lot at 7. And the sheriffs know that they do this to them. So right out of the chute, you are in the water. You are in the thick of it. And they've got those big old Mountie hats on, and they are in your face, and the brims are going in your forehead. And you're just like, oh, holy heck, this is, you're in it. So, and then when they go around and they look at your lunch, and some kid had Twinkies in his lunch, and they're like, dude, Twinkies. Oh, look at the baby. We got Twinkies. Made him run up to the top of the hill and ring the bell. And they've got all kinds of weird things they used to do. I don't think they do a quarter of it anymore because they're kinder and gentler, but
yeah.
So then LA hired me while I was there, and everybody told me, go to LA. It is a bigger department. They have so many opportunities. Whatever you want to do, the sky's the limit. If you go to a division and something happens and they hate you, or you hate everybody there or something, you can go somewhere else. You work for a small agency, you can't do that. You're stuck there.
That's right.
So
That's true.
I went over to LA. And I thought, everybody
Wow.
was like, oh my God, the LA Police Academy. I was like, oh my God, this is like a walk in the park compared to what I just came from. Like standing on that black line at the gym was like, I guess going to like yell at us or something or poke me in the head or anything. Or looking at me like I'm weird. But and I was like,
what year was that?
1289.
Oh, that's right. 1289.
Last
You're
of the
in
80s. Watch us shine. We're strong, we're proud.
That's
That's
right.
1289. I made it through there. So yeah, that's how I
you
ultimately got there.
You didn't think about police work prior to friends bugging you? I mean, that wasn't something that was on your radar at all?
Never.
Until these friends started kind of mentioning it to you?
Nope. I wanted to be a fashion designer, and that was my thing. That's all I wanted to do out of life. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a teacher or a vet. Nope. No desire.
Wow. That's interesting.
I'm from small town Iowa. I mean, we have like barely have a chief of police and like 3 volunteer Barney Fikes running around. Not anymore. It's very different now. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry to all my friends in Guttenberg. Sorry.
So you switch teams and go over to LA and leave Pasadena in your rearview mirror. And so tell us about, you finished the academy or anything about the academy you want to talk about, but tell us about where you went then and the sequence of events and places you worked.
From the academy, I wheeled into Hollywood, which is probably, in my mind, the greatest place to do your probation. You get a little bit of everything. When I was there, early 90s is kind of like the height of some of the gang activities. I mean, we had a shooting every single night. I rode in an ambulance every single night because that's what rookies do. Probationers are thrown in the back of a rig to go to the hospital. I went to Holy Cross Medical a gazillion times. I went to Hollywood Press a gazillion times. To the point they gave me my own set of scrubs. They're like, we hear you so often. You should probably just have your own scrubs. So I'm like, oh, you're so kind. Thank you. Keep in mind, I'd never experienced death, really. My grandparents had passed away. But otherwise, I had never even seen a dead person. So to go in from small town Iowa to seeing this was like culture shock.
Yep.
My hometown, not diverse. So for me to move into LA and see all of the different ethnicities, that was a huge learning thing for me, to learn all the different cultures, all the different, you don't do this when you're in this home, or you don't do this, or you don't do this. I learned that the Armenian community, the men in the Armenian community do not respect females in positions of authority. I learned that very quickly. And my training officer was Armenian. And all of a sudden my training officer is yelling at this guy in Armenian. I don't know what he said, but if I said it in English, there would be a lot of 4-letter words, I'm sure. So
I think I know who that is.
And then when he went, he went like this. He crossed his arms and he goes, "Go ahead, Officer Dickerson." My name was Kickbush at the time. Officer Kickbush, continue on. And this guy was, "Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am." It was like, what the heck just happened here? But he basically said, hey, this isn't going to fly. This is not how this works here. You need to. So you learn so much about different cultures. So it was very cool for me. Loved Hollywood. Loved it. I wheeled to Foothill after that. In the height of Rodney King, I was there.
Yep.
And that was an experience. I was a brand new police officer too, working a mid-PM shift, and I was a senior. Keep in mind, my last name was Kickbush. I went through the police academy with that name, by the way.
Yep.
Thank God. That'll build some character, trust me. So we would go to places and people wouldn't open doors, and I'd look at everybody like, let's kick it. And I was like, let's kick it. We kicked more doors, and the supervisor would be, could you please stop kicking in people's doors? And I'm like, we have the right, we have the probable cause. They don't want to open it. We're going to kick it. And he's like, oh my God, please make it stop. I worked at a really cool little gang unit in Foothill. It was really nice up in Silmar with some really great people. You learn so much when you work with really great people. But after that, I went back. Oh, everybody has a cross to bear. I went to Planning and Research Division. Planning and Research Division on the LAPD is who writes the divisional manuals. And that's where I learned everything about the department and writing the manual and how it works. And my favorite thing about that was you had to get sign-offs for every new order that would come out. And so you had to go to all the assistant chiefs and everybody, go all the way down the line to the chief of police to sign these things. Back then, every single one of them had a different pen color. It was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen in my life. Okay, so, but I learn everything, and I meet all these, upper brass people, and they know who I am. They know I know the manual inside and out because I've written it. And then I want out. I'm like, I'm out of PRD. And they're like, no, you need to stay. You need to promote. You need to do this and that. I'm like, oh no, I want to go to air sport. That's all I want to do in life is I want to go to air sport. They're like, that's a P2 job. You will never go anywhere. You'll be a P2 forever. I'm like, but I'll be happy. So I don't care. I don't want to climb. I don't want to be a captain, a commander. I don't want to be any of that. No desire. They were pushing for it like there was no tomorrow, because that's why you go to PRD, is a stepping stone to go in the building.
Right.
And I wanted no part of that. So I went back out in the field, went to Hollywood, became a training officer. From Hollywood, I went to Hollenbeck Vice. Hollenbeck is in East LA. This is not East LA.
Stood out a little.
Just so you know, a little bit. Hollenbeck has 400, at the time had like 468 ABC locations, alcohol beverage control locations. They're monitored. You have to go check them. It was like every day we were in a different bar. We were in 4 or 5 bars. We would do prostitution stings. I do not look like I should be a prostitute in East LA, so I had a brown wig that I would wear. It was different. I would do things for Hollywood Vice a lot of times, and they always say you dress like wherever you're at. So in Hollywood, you wear thigh-high boots, mini skirts, crop tops. You look the part. We'd have competitions who could raise the most money. The funny thing was, they'd be like, when you have a violation, you have to tell us you have a violation. You don't sit there and try to work them for more money so you win. It's like, you can't do that. That was Hollywood. Hollenbeck, I was the first female they ever had in Vice. So I think I was like an anomaly to them. They didn't really know what to do with me. But I had some awesome partners that are still good friends of mine as well. So we did that thing for a little while. And then at the time, I was trying to get to air sport. I had oral for them. I did my loan for them. They're like, you need to get back in patrol. That's what you need to do. That's going to make you a good TFO. And I said, okay. So I went to Newton, because why not? If you're going to go and do patrol, you might as well do it south of the 10 freeway. So I was a training officer.
Shooting Newton.
Yeah, shooting Newton. I was down there for a while, but then they pulled me out to do the MTA task force when we brought the MTA over, MTA police officers over into LAPD and the sheriffs. The sheriffs and LAPD had a joint command post where we did everything. We did all the interviewing and creating policies and procedures, how we were going to get them over here, the benefits they would get, how it would work, how their seniority, how all of that stuff would work. My job there was to be the ghostwriter for the mayor and the chief of police. Yeah. Back then, if you ever heard anything from the mayor or the chief, you actually heard it from me. Those are my words. That's what I thought. And they just...
Wait, we could use that now.
Yeah, they just spewed that out. And it was a cool job, though, because, you're like, oh, yeah, that's exactly what I said. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then from there, I went to air support.
Back up a little bit. What put air support on your radar?
I fell in love with flying when I came out in 84. When I came out there, I fell in love with flying. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. When I was was I in Hollywood or Foothill? I started flying airplanes because I was like, I love flying. This is awesome. When I was in the police academy, air support came and talked. And I'm like, that's where I want to go. What do I need to do? Tell me what I need to do to make it there. So that's what put them on my radar.
Can we go back a little further? Curiousness, I guess, is for kind of both of you guys. You talked about the Rodney King era. And I remember, as a kid, was when Rodney King, for me, happened. I remember watching the news. My dad was a police officer in Anaheim. So I remember being scared for my dad during that time. Can you talk about what the Rodney King riots were like? And then also how law enforcement changed for you guys in the city of LA in the wake of what happened?
Well, being in Foothill, they cleared out Foothill after Rodney King.
Yeah.
They cleaned out everybody. There were very few that knew the division, that stayed, as supervisors that stayed, any of that. So it was all a learning curve, but everybody hated you. I remember they'd ship us out to different divisions wherever they would need us because we would all be on 12-hour shifts. And I remember I went to 77 and we were doing RA escorts. So you have to spend your time in a firehouse with a bunch of firemen that sleep and snore. And I'm like, oh my God, it's going to kill me. And I would I'd sleep in my patrol car because I couldn't deal with that. But it's weird to go from people loving you. And if you remember when Daryl Gates was the police chief for the city of Los Angeles, they'd have what was called the Hammer Task Forces. And that was, these guys went out and they did what they had to do and they did it within the law And the public didn't care how you got it done as long as you got it done. They didn't care. But those days had stopped immediately upon Rodney King. And then everybody hated us. You couldn't go anywhere. You better not have a license plate that indicated you were a police officer. You didn't tell people what you did for a living. And that is a weird phenomena to feel like everybody hates you and you had nothing to do with the reason for it. Are there bad cops? Sure there are. Are there bad, firemen? Sure there are. Are there bad airline pilots? Sure there are. We're all human, but people didn't care. They didn't want to hear it. You drive down the street, they're throwing stuff at you. They're taking pot shots at you. It was ugly. It was a very ugly time for the city of Los Angeles.
And during the riots itself, what was kind of the most memorable situation that you were a part of?
I don't know that other than being down and driving the streets in 77th Division, which is, where it really lit off at. When you're driving the streets and you're looking at complete neighborhoods gone, just burnt down. And that was like, why is this? I think that is the picture that really stands in my mind as a personal experience. Now, watching it on the news, when you saw the aerial coverage of that and all you saw was fire everywhere, that stands out in my mind considerably. I wasn't at air support, so I wasn't in the air, but to see it on the news was amazing.
And Jack, what was your experience like during that time and the wake of that? This is the end of part 1 of our conversation with Deb Dickerson. Stand by for a message after a word from our sponsors.
Thank you to our sponsor, Technisonic Communications. Technisonic Communications is a proud provider of the critical airborne communications equipment utilized every day on every mission. Law enforcement, EMS, forestry, federal and military operators all trust their communications to Technisonic. Visit TIL.ca to learn how Technisonic can support your mission communications. Thank you to our sponsors, MD Helicopters. MD Helicopters is a leading light helicopter manufacturer for civil and military operators worldwide. We build safe, agile, hard-working light helicopters that consistently deliver reliable performance. As a result, our operators enjoy superior confidence, backed by durability that enables more uptime. Thank you to our sponsor, CNC Technologies. CNC Technologies, serving law enforcement, government, and military markets with tailored mission solutions, system training, and live 24/7 support with CNC.live platform. Explore more at cnctechnologies.com.
Thank you for sticking around and for supporting the companies that generously support the Hangar Z podcast. I wanted to take an opportunity to promote what our friends and Vertical Helicast partners at the Helicopter Podcast and the Real Rescue Podcast have going on. Halsey Scheider from the Helicopter Podcast recently interviewed Jess Birch, a meteorologist and helicopter pilot, in celebration of Women in Aviation Week. This is a great interview you won't want to miss. Jason Quinn from the Helicopter Podcast recently interviewed the aircrew from the San Diego Fire Department at HAI Heli Expo 2024. In the podcast, they discussed some of their most memorable rescue moments and how the Axnis wireless communication system is making those rescues more effective and efficient. To find these podcasts, go to verticalhelicast.com. Cheers.
Time to close up the Hangar. Thanks for joining us on the Hangar Z podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts.